Hi there, fellow food adventurers. Welcome if it's your first time, or welcome back if you're returning to Gary's Urban Larder. Today we have a really classic and simple recipe, including the method, for banana bread. So we're going to show you today what you can do with some overly ripe bananas, which are at what you may think are beyond their peak, but actually have real goodness to give. Okay, we can just start with our ingredients. As I say, we've got some overly ripened bananas. And the one thing we really want to be careful about anytime is food waste. So when you have a couple or three leftover bananas that have gone too brown for yourself or maybe others in your home to want to eat, then you can use them in other ways. So that's what we're going to do today. So we have the bananas, we have baking soda, we also have salt, cinnamon, and vanilla. Also have an egg, some sugar, and some butter we're going to melt, along with flour, and then we've got some additional flavoring and some pecans, some nuts. So the first thing I'm going to do is melt the butter. Okay, I've just got the butter on to start melting. So while we're waiting for that, we'll peel and mash our bananas. And if anyone has any ideas of what we can do with banana skin, leave me a note in the comments, because I'd really like to know. I really hate to waste any part of great produce. And these came from the local market. And I hope you are supporting your local farmers and local farmers markets. So get this peeled, and once we've got all three, and I have 3 medium to large bananas that I'm using. Once we get them in, we're going to just mash them until they're smooth. And the butter's nearly ready. So we're just using our fork, and we're just going to mash up these bananas. So I remember as a little boy that my grandmother would be always busy in the kitchen. And I was always curious. And so if you have small children and they're curious about what you're doing in the kitchen, invite them in, because this is a really simple recipe, and it's something that young children or young bakers can start to pick up new skills. So you can see that is just mashing down nicely. You just want to get all the lumps out of there until you get really kind of a smooth paste. And I tell you, I love bananas. I know some people don't. I have a sister who actually hates bananas, and so I always tease her with banana. So I'm sure when she sees this recipe, she'll be excited for me, but she won't have any of it. She'll say it looks good, but no. But I hope we've got lots of banana lovers with us today. So, okay, I've got that fairly smooth. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to add the melted butter. So we've just let that melt on a low heat. And what I'm going to do is switch from the fork to a spoon. So I'm taking the butter and just pouring that slowly into the banana. And I'll show you a trick to keep a bowl from spinning. Just take a towel, put it under the bowl, and then you've got an extra hand. And there, we incorporate all that butter. All the ingredients will be listed in the description below, along with the measure. So don't worry about that for now. We're just focusing on what we're needing to do in terms of method and combining this really simple recipe for banana bread. So now what I want to do, I'm going to add the egg. Now some people like to beat the egg slightly first, but we're going to just break it right in there because we want to limit the amount of utensils we have. And just poke it and get that incorporated. So we're going to add our other liquid, which is our vanilla. I like to keep my work area tidy as I go. So that's in there. Now I'm going to add in the sugar. Now, I would say add the sugar to your taste, because the reason bananas turn dark is because all the natural sugars are coming out. And what we want to do is just to use that sugar to help with the sweetness in the bread itself. So if you really like it sweet, add more sugar. If you prefer just a slight hint of sweetness, just reduce the sugar. Now, we've got that all incorporated, so it's time for our dry ingredients. We've got our baking soda, followed by a pinch of salt. And that's just to help round off the flavors. And cinnamon. Now, some people aren't very fond of cinnamon, and if you're one of them, then just leave it out. So I'm going to just take my spatula and just cut through that, just to combine those. Yeah. So once that's done, I'm going to add the dry ingredients to the wet. And again, this is something, stirring in dry ingredients, little at a time, always. And this is something young cooks, young bakers, young helpers can do. So just keep adding until we combine all of that together. Now, the rest of that, put that aside. You can see we're getting a nice, fairly thick batter for the bread. And I wish you could smell it. The fragrance of the banana, the cinnamon already really is just filling the kitchen. So, there. Now you don't want to overmix this. You just want to mix it until all the dry ingredients are combined. And there we have it. Now, to add a little something extra, you can add nuts, raisins, sultanas, other dried fruits, or even chocolate. But today, I'm going to add some pecans, which I have left over from another project. And I'm just going to roughly chop those. And again, whenever you have something left over and you can use it for something else, that's always a good idea. We want to reduce the amount of food waste we have. And I'm always very conscious of what we can do. And I'd like to hear your ideas and your experience in how you avoid waste when cooking in your kitchen or in your home generally. So now we've roughly chopped that. They don't have to all be the same size, but you don't want a big hunk of nut in the bread. And now I'm just going to add that. Okay, so just mix that in just by folding. And folding is where you go from the bottom and you lift up and you just roll it over. Yeah? So we're just folding in those ingredients. Now, I'm going to clean the wooden spoon, our trusty wooden spoon. Didn't have to use a single kitchen gadget, just some hand utensils. Now I've got a loaf tin that I've buttered and I've partly lined with parchment paper. And we're going to just add that batter into the tin. And the best thing about a spatula is we can use it to get all of that batter in there. Okay, and I'm just going to gently sort of level the batter in the pan. I'm not trying to make it particularly smooth. I just want sort of an even distribution. So we're just using the spatula gently to do that. Any excess, again, we just scrape it off and back into our tin. Okay, now I've cleaned up a little bit. Got the banana bread batter in our tin, and we're going to put it in a preheated oven, and it's going to bake about 50 to 60 minutes, and then we'll have a look at it. So I'll get this in the oven right now. Okay, we've had our bread baking for about an hour, 50 minutes to an hour, and you see how easy it is to lift out. Now that's still hot, so be very careful. And we're going to just let that cool here on a wire rack until it's ready to cut. Our bread has had a chance to cool, and I'm just going to remove it to a clean work surface, and we're going to have a look. I'm just using a small serrated knife, and look at that. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Just wonderful. So now is the important point. We get to try it. Don't you want to join me? It tastes absolutely amazing. It's moist, warm, delicious. I spread a bit of butter on there, dash of honey if you want. I have it on its own, but I tell you, it's absolutely amazing. So thank you for joining me at Gary's Urban Larder. If you like what you saw, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notification bell so you won't miss out on a single delicious recipe. See you next time.